Welcome to English Odyssey, where powerful stories meet English learning. Today, journey with us through the incredible life of Robert Francis Prevost, a humble man from Chicago who rose to become Pope Leo XIV, the new leader of the Catholic Church. This is a true story of faith, courage, and global leadership, told in clear, simple English to help you learn while being inspired. Let's begin. Paragraph 1. Early life and spiritual awakening of Robert Francis Prevost. Robert Francis Prevost was born on September 14, 1955, in Chicago, Illinois, a bustling American city known for its cold winters and warm hearts. From a young age, Robert's life was deeply rooted in faith, family, and community. He was raised in a devout Catholic household, the son of working-class parents who believed in the power of prayer, service, and education. His father worked long hours to support the family, while his mother maintained a home filled with love, stories, and spiritual teachings. As a boy, Robert was quiet but curious. He loved to read, especially about the lives of the saints, the teachings of Jesus, and the history of the Church. He attended Mass regularly and quickly became fascinated by the rituals, the music, and the sense of unity among people who gathered to worship. He would often sit in the front pew, eyes wide, absorbing every word of the homily and every movement of the priest. His teachers noticed his intelligence and compassion early on. He excelled in his studies, often volunteering to help younger children learn how to read or understand difficult subjects. But more than his academic abilities, what set him apart was his empathy. He comforted friends who were sad. He stood up for classmates who were bullied. He showed an unusual maturity for his age, and this earned him the respect and admiration of both peers and adults. By the time he was a teenager, Robert felt a growing sense of purpose. He was drawn not only to the teachings of the Church, but to a life of service. He began to wonder if he was being called to something greater, a life dedicated entirely to God. He started spending more time in prayer, seeking clarity. He would walk to the church in the evenings, sit in the empty pews, and quietly reflect. One evening, while sitting in his local parish, he felt a profound peace wash over him. It was as if the noise of the world had faded, and all that remained was a still, calm voice in his heart saying, "Serve." That moment became a turning point. He knew with unwavering certainty that he was called to become a priest. Encouraged by his family and mentors, Robert entered seminary after finishing high school. There he began formal studies in theology and philosophy, immersing himself in the scriptures and the writings of the Church Fathers. It was a time of deep learning, not only about religion, but about humanity. He learned Latin, studied pastoral care, and began to understand the complexity of faith in the modern world. Throughout his seminary years, Robert remained humble. He made friends from around the world and listened carefully to their stories. He became known not only for his intellect, but for his kindness and humility. He often spent time helping in poor communities, providing food and comfort to those in need. He believed that theology was not only to be studied, but lived. As he completed his seminary training, Robert took his final vows and was ordained a priest. His journey of faith was just beginning. He had answered the call to serve, but what came next would take him far from the cold streets of Chicago to a land filled with warmth, color, and incredible need. Peru. Paragraph 2. Journey to priesthood and missionary work in Peru. Shortly after his ordination, Father Robert Francis Prevost was sent on a missionary assignment. The Catholic Church had long encouraged its priests to serve in places of great need, and one such place was Peru. It was a country rich in history and culture, but also plagued by poverty, inequality, and political instability. The church in Peru faced many challenges: shortages of priests, struggling parishes, and communities in desperate need of both spiritual and practical support. When Robert arrived in Peru, he was struck by the vibrant colors of the landscape, the warmth of the people, and the deep faith that resonated even in the most remote villages. He was not fluent in Spanish at first, but he committed himself to learning. He spent hours each day practicing the language, not just in the classroom, but in the fields, in homes, and in the streets. He listened more than he spoke and slowly gained the trust of those around him. He was assigned to a poor rural parish high in the Andes Mountains. Life there was not easy. The air was thin, the roads were rough, and resources were scarce. But Robert never complained. He walked for miles to visit families. He celebrated Mass in tiny chapels. He delivered food and medicine. He became a friend, a teacher, and a source of hope. Over time, he grew to love Peru and its people deeply. He respected their resilience and their deep connection to both the land and their faith. He worked with local leaders to establish schools, train catechists, and promote literacy. He saw education as a path to dignity and empowerment. He also helped families find clean water and better health care. One of the most powerful aspects of Robert's missionary work was his willingness to live like the people he served. He did not separate himself from their struggles. He ate what they ate. He slept where they slept. He suffered when they suffered. His compassion was not theoretical, it was lived daily. This humility earned him the name Padre del Pueblo, Father of the People. Despite the harsh conditions and the emotional toll of witnessing so much poverty, Robert never lost his joy. He often said that he received more than he gave. The faith of the people inspired him. Their songs, their prayers, and their endurance filled him with strength. He saw the face of Christ in every child, every elder, every farmer. His years in Peru transformed him. He was no longer just a priest from Chicago. He was a global servant of the church. He had learned how to lead by serving, how to teach by listening, and how to love without limits. His experience in Peru would shape every aspect of his future service. After more than a decade in Peru, Robert was asked to return to the United States, but his heart remained tied to Latin America. He would return many times over the years, but his return marked the beginning of a new chapter. He had shown extraordinary leadership and dedication, and the church was taking notice. Soon, Robert Francis Prevost would be called to greater responsibilities, ones that would eventually take him to the very heart of the Vatican itself. Paragraph 3. Rising through the ranks, bishop, archbishop, and beyond. Upon returning from Peru, Father Robert's reputation as a humble servant and wise leader had already reached many corners of the Catholic Church. His dedication and pastoral experience made him an ideal candidate for more significant responsibilities. In 2004, Pope John Paul II appointed him as Bishop of Chiclayo, a diocese in northern Peru where Robert had served previously. This appointment was a great honor and a profound responsibility, but it also came with a new level of influence and challenge. As bishop, Robert led with the same humility and compassion that had defined his missionary work. He traveled to the most remote parts of his diocese, listening to the people, encouraging the clergy, and promoting education and health care. He encouraged dialogue and inclusivity, opening church doors to those who had felt marginalized or forgotten. He also emphasized the importance of training young priests and lay leaders to carry forward the mission of the church in local communities. His leadership during natural disasters, particularly floods and earthquakes, demonstrated his ability to act swiftly, organize resources, and provide spiritual strength in times of chaos. His efforts brought him not just admiration from within the church, but also respect from government officials, NGOs, and interfaith groups. In 2014, Robert was appointed the Prior General of the Order of St. Augustine, the international leader of the entire Augustinian order. This role, based in Rome, placed him in charge of more than 2,800 friars in over 40 countries. It was a role that demanded global vision, administrative skills, and spiritual depth. Robert rose to the task with grace. He visited friars around the world, listened to their needs, and worked to strengthen their communities through training, reform, and unity. He became known in the Vatican as a voice of moderation, compassion, and wisdom. His influence expanded as he was frequently invited to speak at global Catholic events, synods, and councils. He was a bridge builder, someone who could navigate the complexities of modern society while staying rooted in ancient faith. His views were balanced, traditional but not rigid, open but not reckless. By 2020, Pope Francis had recognized Robert's talents and called him to serve in one of the most critical offices in the Vatican, the dicastery for bishops. This position made him responsible for helping to select bishops across the world, a role that required deep discernment and understanding of both pastoral needs and regional realities. His recommendations shaped the future leadership of the Church in every continent. In 2023, Robert was named Archbishop and later elevated to Cardinal by Pope Francis. These titles, while prestigious, were never the goal for him. He accepted them with humility, seeing them only as tools to serve more people, to spread more hope, and to bring more unity to a divided world. Cardinal Prevost continued to travel, teach, and mediate on behalf of the Church. He had earned a reputation not only for his intellect and organizational skill, but also for his sincere spirituality and ability to listen deeply. In a time when the world was growing increasingly complex and divided, he became a steady, trusted figure. His heart, shaped by the simplicity of his Chicago upbringing and the resilience of his years in Peru, made him one of the most respected leaders in the global Church. You've just listened to the powerful life story of Pope Leo XIV, a man who proved that humility, service, and faith can change the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey with English Odyssey. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep learning English through meaningful narratives, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep learning and keep believing in your story.